Okay, great to see everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I hope your day is going well. It is Wednesday, and so we're going to do a Rashi from the fourth Aliyah. I want to show you two short Rashis actually today, which both connect to a similar theme in the fourth Aliyah. In the fourth Aliyah, we learned about the famous encounter of Moshe Rabbeinu with Hashem at the Sneh, at the burning bush, an important encounter that is the preamble really to the rest of the story of Yetzias Mitzrayim. And in that aliyah, we have two psukim and two Rashis, which really comment on the same theme, which is the compassion, the rachamim, the sensitivity of HaKadosh Baruch Hu to the plight of the Jewish people. So the aliyah opens with Moshe's encounter. Moshe yaroes tzon Yisro chosno kohen Midyan vayinhagas hatzon achar hamidbar vayavo al har ha'elokim choreva. The Moshe Rabbeinu was a shepherd for his father-in-law Yisro's flock in Midian. And he used to take the sheep on a particular trajectory through the desert. Rashi comments on that, which we're not going to go look into right now. But he says, Lehisrachek min hagezel shelo yiru b'sados acher. Moshe Rabbeinu was extra careful to make sure the sheep go in a certain direction in order to not steal from other people's fields, to not graze in other people's land, to be very careful about the mitzvah of theft and to ensure that there was no theft involved over here. So it was a high moral character to Moshe Rabbeinu. There's another medrash about Moshe Rabbeinu and the sheep and his shepherding skills, which is that he used to go after every last sheep and carry them on his back, making him a compassionate leader. So those two midrashim are very interesting, both in terms of sheep and Moshe Rabbeinu's relationship to the sheep, highlighting different qualities that he had as a leader in terms of his moral character and in terms of his emotions and his sensitivity as well. But he takes them on this trajectory and they come by Har HaElokim Choreva. This is, of course, a foreshadowing of the later events, as Rashi notes over here, that will occur at Har Chorev, which is also known as Har Sinai, the place of the giving of the Torah. But the initial encounter between Hashem and Moshe happens right there as well at Har Chorev. And what happens? What was the nature of the encounter? Vayera malach Hashem elav, an angel of God appears to him, bilabat eish mitoch hasneh, in a fire in the sneh, in the burning bush. Vayar v'hinei hasneh boer ba'eish v'hasneh and ukal. Famously, the bush was burning, but it was not consumed. That was the sign to Moshe Rabbeinu that something was different here, that there was some apparition from HaKadosh Baruch Hu taking place, that this was a miraculous event, not within the normal parameters of what would be happening in the desert when a bush was burning. And therefore, it alerted him that there was something special going on here, and that's when he has his encounter with Hashem. So the first Rashi I wanted to show you, just one that you probably are familiar with, the fact that the burning bush was a low bush, the sneh. So Rashi comments from Chazal saying, Mitoch hasneh velo ilan acher. The fire was burning in a sneh, in a very low bush, rather than a tall tree, mishum imo anochi b'tzara, in order to convey that God was with us in our plight. What it means is that because the sneh was the low bush, was a low, humble bush, it meant that the lofty HaKadosh Baruch Hu lowered himself into that space in order to come save the Jewish people, as if to convey to Moshe Rabbeinu and to them and to us for all generations the principle of Imo Anochi B'tzara, that you may face distressful, challenging, harmful situations in the course of Jewish history, but I, God, will be there with you every step of the way. I'll be there to hold you, to support you, to be with you, and ultimately to save you and to redeem you as well. There's many psukim, many Rashis, many Chazals to that effect, showing that HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes into exile with us, endures the suffering with us, so to speak, and then redeems us from there. Together we go out into a better future. And so the sneh is the first sign of that over here. Of course, we're speaking here as, hypotheticals in terms of our own imagination. Of course, the Kadosh Baruch Hu is not literally lowering himself. He's not literally there with us, but in the spiritual sense, we believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there with us in that particularly challenging situation. And so from the very beginning of this prophecy to Moshe, in this moment, Hashem was already conveying to him, even subliminally, Imo Anochi B'tzara. I'm right there along with you. I'm right there along with the Jewish people in their suffering. That theme comes back to be reiterated again later in the encounter, when after the back and forth about Moshe Rabbeinu taking off his shoes, he's standing on holy ground, don't come too close, etc., back and forth. Finally, Hashem speaks to him, Anochi Elokei Avicha, Elokei Avram, Elokei Yitzchak, Elokei Yaakov, Vayaster Moshe Panav Ki Yareh Me'abit Elohim. I'm the God of your forefathers. Moshe Rabbeinu was astounded by the holiness of the moment. He covers his face. So then what does Hashem say? What's the punchline, or really the climax of the conversation, the most important, critical pasuk from which everything else flows? Vayomer Hashem says, Ra'o ra'iti et oni ami asher b'mitzrayim. I've seen the suffering, the impoverishment of my people in Egypt. Ve'tzakatam shamati. I've heard their crying, mipnei nogsav, because of their taskmasters. Ki yadati et machovav. And I've come to know their suffering, their machov, their ke'ev, their pain. So Rashi now comments on ki yadati et machovav. Kemo vayeda Elohim. So this is a similar theme to what it says earlier. When it says Vayishma Elokim Nakatam, Vayiskor Elokim et Brito, before this whole story occurs, the Torah says Vayar Elokim es Bnei Yisrael, Vayeda Elokim, that he knew them, he saw them, etc. Klomar, what does that mean? Ki samti leiv lihisponen eladas es machovav. I've paid attention. I've made it my business to see their suffering, to feel their suffering. Velo ha'elamti eini la'atom ozni mitza'at. I never closed my eyes. I never closed my ears. I've heard them. I've seen them. I've felt them. So what Rashi is pointing out to us is two things over here. Number one, the threefold relationship of the pasuk. There is the verb of re'iyah, there's the verb of shmiya, and there's the verb of yediyah. So on three levels, God is relating to the Jewish people. Through sight, I've seen their suffering. Through sound, I've heard their cries. And through a third, which is yediyah, knowledge. And in general, as Rashi is conveying over here, yediyah is a deeper form of knowing. We know that from the very beginning of the Torah, Yediyah is always not just knowledge, like in a sense of das, but Yediyah is the closest form of relationship, the closest form of knowing. What Hashem is conveying to Moshe in this pasuk is, again, just like in the Sneh, Rashi, Imo Anochi B'tzara, he's conveying to him again. Not only I, as a distant party, have seen them, not only I, as a distant party, have heard them, not only I, as a distant party, have made an intellectual, calculated decision, so to speak, to go and save them, but the reason I'm going to save them is beyond the intellect. It's beyond the removed third party, but it's yadati. I know it. I empathize with them. I feel their pain. I'm right there with them. And because of that, I've decided to come and save them. So again, that's why I'm connecting these two Rashis. Yadati means a deeper form of knowing and of feeling the pain of the Jewish people, as already anticipated by his apparition in the Sneh, which is conveying the message of Imo Anochi B'tzara. A very powerful idea that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we may not feel it, we may not see it. It's very difficult to relate to a hidden God, especially when we're in a distressing situation, a challenging moment. But we have to know and we have to believe that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is right there alongside us, not only there to watch and to see and to listen, but there to feel our pain, to be right there with us emotionally as well. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.